Richard.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And first of all,
it's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for having us into your home. And I'm afraid my eyes are going to be roaming because this is a phenomenal setup you've got.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it.
And I understand that you've flown in all of these airplanes. That
yes,
have
all the models I've flown are models of the airplanes that I've flown over the years.
All right. But first of all, we're going to kind of go back to the beginning where, where you were born and how you got into the service and which branch. I'm taking Air Force.
Air Force, yes.
So
okay, yeah.
All right,
yep. So. I was born in Bakersfield, California. That was my home for many, many years. And then I got into the Air Force, and then, of course, I went off to wherever the Air Force goes.
Now, did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted in the Air Force, yes.
And how old were you at the time?
18.
18.
Mm-hmm.
So right out of high school?
Out of high school, yes.
Now, tell me, love of flying, background, did you have a father, grandfather, or anything also in the military?
No, I was the first one to go to the military.
Okay.
During the war days, of course, my brother, he joined up too later on. But I joined up, I was in college, junior college, in Bakersfield Junior College, when the war broke out. And so I joined up.
So now tell me about what year are we talking about now?
Let's see, 1942.
1942.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I took training. The Bakersfield Junior College had an aviation program, and I signed up for it. Mm-hmm. And the war had started. And so you couldn't fly on the coast. The West Coast stopped all flying, all civilian flying. So we had to go to more west. Good grief. We had to go inland in order to fly. So there was a town called Lone Pine, California, and at Lone Pine was where they set up the flight training program. Mm-hmm. And I joined up for that and went to Lone Pine and learned to fly.
Now, about how long did that training take?
The training was about, about 6 or 8 months of flying training. Mm-hmm. And at that time, then the Army Air Corps started a program for us. We were civilians, we were high school kids, junior college mm-hmm. kids, and they offered us, if you'll join up, we'll put you in the Air Force and you'll train in the Army training, Air Force training.
Okay.
So I signed up for it, and the rest of it was all military training. The Air Force training. There was a big training base in Southern California, and that's where we all went, those of us who were in that program. And we joined up then. We said, I do, I'm and then we get additional training on that program. That was an Army Air Corps program. Okay. And then when I finished that training, then I went into a regular Air Force training program, and that took another 4 months, 5 months, and then I was in the regular Army Air Force, Army Air Corps.
And then at what point did they send you off?
Then I guess about 6 months later, we did some training there, the usual training type thing. I never did quite figure out why the military, why you had to march, do a lot of marching, but we did a lot of marching. I don't know what we gained from that, but I guess something. But anyway.
Some discipline or something.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
I have a son who was in
the
Army, so I think there's some discipline.
Military discipline. Anyway, that lasted about 4 months, and then we went into the regular Army Air Corps, and we were then assigned our assignments they sent us. There was quite a group of us, probably about 200-300 of us, and then we ended up in all places where by then the war was on. World War II was growing. Sure. I ended up in New Guinea, and I was sent to New Guinea.
So you didn't have any choice. It's not like I don't know why I asked that.
No,
you don't have a choice.
At that time you were in Uncle Sam's program, and so they sent me to New Guinea, and then I was there during World War II, all through New Guinea and the Dutch East Indies, and eventually Japan.
Now, when you were in New Guinea, then what kinds of missions were you doing? I mean, was it a fighter plane that you had?
Yes, I was a fighter pilot.
Okay.
That's what I did. I was a fighter pilot. They classified me as a fighter pilot, and I flew P-38s and P-47s.
Now, were you solo in these, or did you have a gunner? And part of this is just my own ignorance of how many men can be on one of these planes.
Did I what?
Did you have like a gunner or a navigator, or are you solo in
no,
these?
No, it was a fighter, one pilot.
Okay.
A fighter pilot type thing. And the training was pretty strict and good training. We learned to fly, and we learned to fly fighters. And I ended up, as I said, in New Guinea in a fighter squadron, 9th Fighter Squadron, 49th Fighter Group. And then I did that all through World War II. And
clearly survived it.
Pardon me?
Clearly survived it.
I survived it, yeah, unfortunately. I wasn't sure I was going to survive it, but I did. It was pretty tough at that. The war had just broken out, and so there was, it was the rough part at that time.
Well, what were some of your target areas? I mean, when you left New Guinea, flew out of there, then where were you
going?
All
the Dutch East Indies, New Guinea, and on to the Philippine Islands, and then on eventually to Japan.
Now, what was life like there? Where were you living when you weren't?
Well, in tents always. Always in a tent.
Always in a tent.
Yeah, one tent to the other, and as the war progressed, of course, we moved constantly towards Japan, and eventually we ended up in Japan, and where actually I was never actually assigned to Japan, although my headquarters was in Japan. The headquarters of the unit that I belonged to, which was fighters.
Were you ever shot down?
No.
Never shot down?
No, never got shot. I got shot up a couple times.
You got shot up?
But I never got shot
down.
But
not shot down. Well, good.
I had some holes in the machine.
Holes in the machinery. But not in yourself.
No, I never got hit. Never got hit. I managed to get through that whole thing without a scratch.
Can you tell us a little bit about when you were in the Leyte Gulf?
I ended up in the largest sea battle in history at Leyte Gulf. The Japanese brought their whole fleet, the largest fleet that they had at that time, at Leyte, and I happened to be flying that day. That was my day to fly. And so
lucky you, huh?
Yeah, lucky me. And so I ended up being watching. I didn't fire my guns because it just wasn't something that I could do. It was quite a battle. I got to tell you, I'll never forget.
And what a vantage point, because you're up there.
I'm flying along there, and the battle was going on, and I watched that battle. I was the only one that watched the largest sea battle in history. And I just sat up there and watched that happen. It was the darndest thing you can imagine. And they had, the Japanese had their whole fleet was there. We scrambled when that battle started, when we all jumped in our fighters and took off. But it ended up, for some reason, I can't even remember how come this happened, but it happened up that I was the only one that went to that area. So I got to see witness the largest sea battle in history. And it was something, I got to tell you, it was something. Dozens of battleships and warships involved in the thing. And
so how long were you up there going around sort of being able to see
all I was
of
up
this?
there for a couple hours watching the battle. There wasn't much I could do about it, because I wasn't in a condition to fight battleships. Things were blowing up and ships were blowing up, and some of them were sinking, of course, and people were. I always remember seeing there must have been thousands of soldiers men off the ships. The ships were sinking, and they were floating. They were in the water, and so all these heads were bobbing in the water. But hundreds of them, thousands of them. It's a damn
From both sides, I imagine.
Pardon me?
From both sides, Japanese.
On both sides, yeah. It was a phenomenal sight.
During your time, were there other major battles that you were involved in or observed?
Yes, there were. That was the biggest one. That was the granddaddy of all. It's a phenomenal thing that happened. I still amaze myself when I think about it. You would think there would be lots of other fighters and lots of other airplanes and stuff, but there wasn't. I was the only one. So I think I'm probably the only person in history that watched that battle, and I watched the whole thing. As I flew around, because there was anything I could do about it. That incident there, when that happened, that was the initiation of the kamikaze. The first kamikazes came then, right, while I was there. I was on a special mission, and it got me up to where the big battle was. Nobody knew that was going to happen. It just happened, and it just happened while I was there. And it's an interesting thing. I keep thinking about it over the years. I thought,
well, there must have been a reason you were singled out.
I guess so. I got away with it, and I didn't get a bullet hole in the airplane.
I'm thinking back now. There was another famous pilot, Charles Lindbergh.
Yes.
Did you have a chance to see him or?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Oh yes, I flew with him.
Oh, you did.
Oh yes,
all
indeed.
right. Can you share some of that? That's fantastic.
Oh, he was a character, and of course he was an amazing guy and a hell of a pilot. He was really a something again, and he shot down a Zero, and he was supposed to be over there just giving us information and talking about stuff. See, but he got on. We got out on a fight one day, and we chased in. We got into some Japanese fighters, and by golly, he just went up on him and shot him down. He wasn't supposed to be doing that. See, he's supposed to be giving us information and all that. He wasn't supposed to be shooting.
He probably couldn't help himself.
No, he loved it.
Yeah, sure. You'd have to.
Yeah.
Because it's such a risk. It's amazing that you survived the whole thing.
Yes, well, it is amazing. I don't know how I managed that, but I did.
Well, and here you are in this
just,
wonderful museum of your life.
Just it's just the way it went. But it's amazing, and I think about it a lot. Not a lot, but on occasion I think about that, and I think I'm going to have to write about that. I think I'm going to write a book about that, because it was an unusual thing. It just happened to happen that way.
So you had this really incredible experience over the Gulf. What are some of the other images or strong memories you have from that time that you were a fighter plane? I'm assuming you formed friendships and
pardon me?
Formed friendships with some of the other pilots?
Oh, sure. The 9th Fighter Squadron was the highest scoring squadron in the Leyte operation.
Are there some individuals that you particularly remember? I know we talked about Charles Lindbergh.
Oh, yeah, Charles Lindbergh, Dick Bong.
Dick Bong. Now, what was he? Was he another pilot?
He was the top ace of World War II. Dick Bong. the top ace.
So when you say top ace, what does that mean? How
That
many
means
how many did
that
he...
means he shot down more enemy aircraft than anybody else in World War II.
So you were flying in good company.
I was flying in good company. That's
Absolutely.
right. Yes, indeed. And I don't know how it just works. You know, it either happens or it doesn't.
So now tell me, okay, so what happened after Japan? Did you come back, or what happened with your career after?
No, well, the war was over. You know, Japan surrendered.
Mm-hmm.
I finished my combat tour.
Did you go back to California?
Yes, went home, and I stayed in the Air Force.
That's what I was going to ask you next. If
Yes.
you got out or you stayed in?
I stayed in. I wanted to fly some other stuff, and
Yeah, it looks like you did.
and I did. I was stationed at McCord Field, Washington,
Okay.
state of Washington. One day, they got us all together out on the ramp there beside the hangar, and said, "We're going to go show you guys something new." And this thing came in, and it was a helicopter, and we'd never seen one. And so it was fun to watch it. You know what it did. He came down and spun around and did his thing and landed. I was fascinated with the darn thing.
Well, yeah, well, you're just fascinated with being up in the sky. So.
Well, yeah, that's true. But this thing was really something. We all it was really a strange stuff. We'd never seen a helicopter before.
So now did they offer some training in this then? Because obviously you got involved with these helicopters.
Well, the helicopters was just getting, there wasn't much helicopter during the war, very little. It really didn't start till after World War II. Mm-hmm. But anyway, well, this helicopter showed up this day, and we all got out there and watched it. And the pilot got on, he did his things and stuff, and we were really fascinated with it. I was fascinated with it. And as a matter of fact, I was so fascinated, I immediately put in the application to learn to fly one. And so I was one of the first helicopter pilots in the Army Air Force.
And this is when you were this is when you were in Korea or about to go?
No, this was when I was at McCord Field, Washington.
This is before, okay.
This is after the war. Mm-hmm. And so I fell in love with the helicopter. It was just fascinating. And I said, oh man, I gotta fly that thing.
Well, and it's of course it's completely different from the fighter planes.
Completely
it
different.
has different maneuverability and all that.
Absolutely, complete different. And I just fell in love with it. And so, and that's how I happened to get back into the war business again, because they had helicopters in Korea, and so before I knew it, I was sent off to Korea as a helicopter pilot.
Okay, but now as a helicopter pilot, clearly you're going to be doing different things because
Yes.
they can get down. So I'm thinking about that old program MASH and all that. And this is, I know, jumping ahead. The various MASH units. But
Yes.
I'm wondering, when you were now in the helicopter pilot, what kinds of things were you doing with that?
That's what we did. We supported the MASH. Basically, we supported the MASH. The Mobile Army Surgical Hospital was on the battlefield, and we'd go up, and the helicopter was an ideal vehicle to go into the battlefield and pick up the wounded soldiers and bring them back to the hospital. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did then for some time.
Now, how many soldiers could you carry on one of those helicopters when you were going back?
Well, you could stuff 3 in.
Stuff 3 in.
Yeah, and sometimes I've done it on occasion. I'd even done more. Crammed them in because I was, I had to go.
Do you recall any specific battles that you were involved in as as a helicopter pilot?
Yes, the whole bunch of them. Now, of course, this was after the World War II. Mm-hmm. This is another story, so to speak. But I ended up.
I always want to clarify. Were you doing this helicopter pilot like when you were in Korea?
Yes.
Okay.
That Korea is where I got my helicopter experience. I got sent to Korea as a helicopter pilot, mm-hmm. And so that's what I did. I didn't fly any more fighters after Korea. After my experience in Korea.
Okay.
But the experience in Korea was a complete different.
Oh, I'm sure.
Experience, because what we were doing is flying out and rescuing people, pilots and crews who got shot down in the ocean.
Now, and again, did you suffer any, did you go down with the helicopter ever? Or again, were you fortunate enough not to have been in any, brought down or anything? You were successful in rescuing.
I managed to get through the war completely with only a few holes. I got shot up a little bit once in a while, but never really, not really hurt.
Well, I would imagine that had to be very rewarding.
Well, it was
to save these.
Well, it was, because you're really doing, you're saving people's lives, and we go up on the battlefield, and of course, as soon as you go out on the battlefield, the bad guys are shooting at you.
Sure.
And once in a while you get holes in your helicopter, but I managed to do it, and I saved a lot of people's soldiers' lives, because I go up on the battlefield and pick them up and take them back to the hospital.
Do you have any idea how many soldiers
A
you
bunch.
did it?
A bunch. It was almost a daily affair. We worked with the MASH in Korea. It was mostly with the MASH, and the MASH was Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. We actually lived with them, with the MASH.
What was that? Well, I should say, what was that like? Obviously,
it was great.
Was
Sure. A lot of pretty girls. Lots of nurses and fun things. Yeah, MASH was great. Great duty. I like MASH because and they had good food. They had
you were doing good work. I mean,
they did good work, and boy, I'll tell you, those nurses and doctors, they work around the clock. They were really.
So tell me, when you were flying these helicopters, in terms of kind of your day to day, did you go out every day in the helicopter, or how was your daily life? Did you stay on the base, or were you pretty much going out every day?
We pretty much went out every day. Not every day, but almost every day. And of course they had a good system, and when they would get hurt or get shot, wounded, they would call us on a long. We had a long line. It was really a good thing, and we'd go up there and pick them up, and some of them were wounded, and, of course, and some of them were bad wounded. So we took a lot of wounded soldiers right off the battlefield, and they would call us, and we'd run out, jump in the helicopter, fly up to the battlefield, and land, and pick them up and bring them home, and we saved hundreds of lives that way. It was a remarkable program.
How safe was the MASH camp itself?
They managed to stay pretty well away from the where the shooting was going on. Sometimes they'd have to pick up their marbles and run, because the bad guys would make a surge. Every once in a while they would do that, but the MASH had it organized to where they knew when that was going to happen, and
because you said you were pretty much in tents. So you were pretty much living in tents.
Living in tents, yeah.
And the hospital was also,
yes, it was
in a tent.
It was all tents. They had the operating rooms was a room. It had
I'm reminded of that program MASH that was on television. Is that fairly realistic as to how they were?
Yeah, absolutely it was. It was pretty darn realistic. You bet. That's the way it was. That's the way it was. And those doctors and those nurses, boy, they really did a great job. And we did a good job too, because we went up there and under fire most of the time, and picked up these guys that were shot, that were wounded, and brought them back to the MASH. They went from the helicopter. We carry them in and put them on the operating tables, and then the surgeons would go to work. And those guys were, oh man, listen, those guys would work round the clock, just round the clock. And they'd go all day and all night, because sometimes they would be on their feet for all night long, or all day long. and a marvelous thing. It was crude in a way, and whatever, but boy, they did a great job. I was really proud of those guys.
Now, some of those wounded soldiers then, would they go? I mean, would they sort of fix them up? Would they have to go back into battle, or could they, depending on the severity of their injuries, maybe they would be shipped back home?
Well, they would go to. It depends on how serious the wound was. Mm-hmm. Once they were shot, once they'd been wounded, they got them out of there. They took them to the BASH first. The doctors would get right on them, and those doctors would work round the clock, patching these guys up, and they would patch them up. I mean, they just get them to where they were okay enough to move down to a major hospital, which was Japan. Mm-hmm. The guys that were really hurt bad were they take them out and send them down to Japan.
So how long were you there then? How long were you a helicopter pilot?
It might have been a little more than a year. But
so after that, were you done, or did you stay in longer?
When I finished, generally speaking, your tour was a year.
Okay.
At the end of a year, you got to go home. Mm-hmm. And sometimes maybe some guys had to cut a little more, and I took a little more than a year.
Did you lose any of your friends? Were any of your friends pilots that may have been shot down while you were there?
Oh yes, yeah. Every once in a while we'd lose a pilot, but all in all, we did pretty good. We didn't lose too many pilots. I'd say offhand we may have lost a half a dozen. Mm-hmm. But these guys were, I mean, we were right in the thick of it, and you're dodging, you're flying a helicopter. Mm-hmm. So you don't have anything to shoot back at with,
That's what I was wondering. You don't have any.
No, you can't.
No.
You're not getting to do any shooting. They're doing all the shooting, and you're doing the dodging.
So they would try to shoot you down, even though you're really a medical.
Yes.
You're a medical.
Yeah, but see, they're all bad guys. They're not good, too good. So. But we did pretty good, and we lost a couple of pilots. So we did have a rule that when the sun went down, mm-hmm. you're all through.
Okay.
Because you can't. It's black. It's
so
dark.
Did you abide by that rule?
Yes, we did. Generally, we did. But one time
I think there's a story coming.
There was one time I didn't abide by the rule. When the sun went down. That was the end. When the sun went down at night, we closed the door. Okay. And then we partied. We always managed to have plenty of booze, so you could drink, and fly. Mm-hmm. That was a no-no.
Well, of course.
But after the sun went down, then you can't fly. You can't go up on the battlefield because you can't see. There's no lights up there. The only lights are the fire from the guns, mm-hmm. so you can't go up there at night. And when it's nighttime, we headed for the bar. Both the doctors and the others, whenever they came back from leave, they'd all bring booze, lots of booze. Mm-hmm. So there'd be lots of partying for a while. And we were on a party, and it was a great party was going on, and everybody's having a great time, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and my boss, the major was the boss, he took the phone. He just happened to be standing there when it rang, and I saw him. I glanced up and looked at him. And I didn't pay any more attention, but I see him because shaking his head, and so anyway, he put the phone back down, and I was standing next to him, and I said, "What was that?" He says, "Oh," he said, "the usual." He said, "They got a guy up there that's shot bad. He's bad. He won't last the night, and they want me to come up. They want us to come and get him." And he said, "What could I say?" You can't go out at night. You can't see your hand in front of your face at the black night, and there's no lights. And you can't go up on a battlefield at night. You know, you can't do it. It's a suicide. And so he said, well, it's too bad, but that's the way it is. So we forgot it and turned around and started drinking again or whatever. And the phone rang again. And so I was still standing there, so I picked it up. And the guy says, look, he says, I'm going to break the rules. And I have a thing here where I can rig up a light for you. We're going to put them, I'll turn some lights on. If you'll come up here and get this poor guy, he's not going to make it till morning. He can't make it till morning. He'll die. And that's that. And I kind of hum-hawed, and I said, oh, Jesus, I don't know. You know, this is just not a good idea. And he says, and he kept after me. And finally I said, well, what the hell? No, I can't do that. I just can't do it. A buddy of mine come in about that time, and we talked about it a little bit. He says, I was still talking to the guy on the phone, and he says, what's the problem? I said, well, it's the usual thing. A guy's shot and he's bad, and he's not going to last he won't last, but so it goes. He says, yeah, I know, that's the way it is. And we just kind of saw it, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, God damn, that's. Anyway, long story short, I decided I was going to do it. So I did. I went out and cranked the helicopter up.
Now, did you have permission to do this, or you just did it?
I just did it. We're not supposed to go out at night.
Yeah, you're not supposed to go out at night.
No, that's against the rules. And I would have gotten in trouble if my boss found out about it. He would raise hell. So anyway, long story short, I decided. And I had a little help. And a little help was I'd had a few balls.
I was going to kind of go there, but I thought I'll let you go there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back. That might have added to your bravado.
I probably would not have done it if I hadn't been drinking, but I was, and so I did it. And I went up there.
How far away was he from the camp?
Oh, it was about I would say 30-minute flight.
Okay, so he wasn't really that close.
Pardon?
He probably wasn't that close to the...
No, it's a little ways away. Mm-hmm. But I got him, and I landed there, and it was dark, of course, pitch black.
They said they were going to put some lights up.
But he turned the lights on, and I saw the lights, and that's what I did. I saw the lights, and when I saw the light come on, he heard me coming, and so he turns on the lights. And what they had is some
flares, or
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to land. It was I flew right through the top of a damn tree, and pieces flew off or whatever, which probably would have been the end of the thing right then and there. But strangely enough, it didn't. I landed, and some pieces were knocked off the helicopter, and whatever, but nothing vital. So I decided that I might as well go now. So I did, and I took off, and in a pitch black night, and with the wounded guy, and I managed to get home.
Do you know whether he survived or not?
No, I don't know whether he did, because he was pretty bad. He was pretty bad shot. Mm-hmm. Now they did. As soon as I got back to the MASH, they put him on the table on the and got him over the worst part, but he was still pretty bad off. Mm-hmm. But then what we did then is we put him in a Jeep and took him down to headquarters. I guess he survived. I really don't know whether he did or not, but I would guess that he did.
Now, did you get in trouble?
My boss said, you're not supposed to, better to do that. Yeah, and I said, yeah, I know. He said, yeah, you know what you did there, going up there at night and getting that guy and all this, that deserves the big award. But he said, on the other hand, you broke the rules, and you broke my rules, so you ought to get your ass in jail for doing that. And I said, well, I know, but I did it anyway. He said, yeah, I know. He says, okay, get your ass back up there and don't do that again. So it all worked out.
One of the many pieces of memorabilia in this room is a framed thing with a lot of medals. So I know that during the course of your career, you garnered quite a few awards, it looks like.
Doing that kind of stuff is, they do, they do give you good awards. And it's good, you feel good about it. When you do something like that and save somebody's life, it's good. You feel good about it.
Sure, of course.
But at the same time, like he said, I always remember this, no, he says, the next guy that does that, he might not have as good luck as you will, and he'll crash the helicopter and kill himself, and we lose a helicopter.
Sure.
And so, and I said, I know. He says, all right.
Did you, I'm assuming that you did your writing after the war?
Most of it I did after the war, yes. Although I did some during the war, and I sketched.
And you had time for sketching, because I saw some sketches and paintings.
Yes, I did some sketching, and I did some writing after the war, and I did some writing during the war too.
You had some time.
Yeah, I did write some stuff that it was interesting to do, because it was, you're there and it's happening, and so.
Now, when you're done with your military service, what did you do in terms of a career? Did you stay doing things with helicopters?
Yeah, they had a program for us, for guys like me, who had been in the war and stuff, and I signed up for it, and they sent me to University of Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
For 3 years, I guess it was, and I enjoyed that. That was good. I got my degree.
Got your degree.
Yeah, and so that was kind of neat.
And then you got into eventually selling helicopters. Your love of helicopters continued.
Yes, indeed. That's exactly what I did. And then I became a salesman. And sold helicopters. That was fun too. Yeah. Howard Hughes.
Oh, Howard Hughes.
Yes, indeed.
Well, yes. He was smart to get in the helicopter business.
Yes, he was. He was a strange guy.
That's so all the reports is he was pretty quirky.
Well, he was a strange guy. But he was, on one hand he was brilliant, and on the other hand he was kind of strange. I met him one time, yes, and we had a little conversation. He was an interesting guy.
How many years did you sell? So how long did you sell sell helicopters? You're a salesman.
Boy,
now.
I was selling helicopters up till 22 years.
So 22 years.
I was a helicopter salesman. I liked it. It was fun. It was great. And besides that, I had a helicopter.
So who was buying helicopters? Individuals or companies?
Companies, individuals, yeah. Mostly companies.
Now, did you continue to fly helicopters just on a recreational level?
Well, kind of, yeah. I kept my demonstrator in the backyard here for a bit of years.
Yeah.
And Maria and I went all over the place with in the helicopter. I had my own helicopter set up in the back seat, right out in the backyard.
You mentioned Maria. So when did you get married?
When did we get married?
74.
74.
74.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we had a lot of fun with the helicopter. As a matter of fact, we flew it back and forth across the country a couple of times. Well, no, I guess only once.
On our honeymoon.
On our honeymoon. We took our honeymoon on the helicopter.
Oh, that's a great.
I went back to the factory and picked up a demonstrator, and then we just flew it all over the place. And it was great fun.
Now, I'm curious too, once you're out of the military, did you get involved in veterans groups like Veterans of Foreign Wars or any of those?
No, I really didn't. I just didn't.
But you've written, I know you wrote books and you continued.
Yes, I did write some books.
And you continued with your your artistry. Your paintings
Yes.
are wonderful.
Yes, I did do that. Thank you. I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed.
And you created this private museum, which is
Yeah,
this
well,
is a piece of history here.
this has been a major project, and it's certainly.
You've got more things in
yeah,
here.
it's kind of fun, and I'm a bit of a pack rat. My mother was a pack rat. She loved saving stuff. So, and I took that after her on that, and so I've got I got lots of stuff, and it's kind of fun to have this because it's history, and you know, I enjoy it, and my friends and relatives and people all enjoy seeing it, and so that's kind of fun, kind of neat.
You know, one of the things that I always find interesting when we're conducting these interviews is clearly you had a love affair with flying, with the sky,
Yes.
with the Air Force. If you were sitting here in front of a group of, say, high school students, would you encourage them to engage in some military service, or what kind of thoughts would you share with them?
Well,
Just in general about military service and.
well, the military is good for someone who can adapt to do it. If you're that kind of way, it's certainly not for everybody. Because the military is military, and they do some dumb things, and they do some things that you don't like. You get sent to all different places and that you don't have anything, no say-so in. So there are downs. There's good things about it. There's pluses and minuses, but there are also minuses. But if a young man is that way and a young woman, I'm really not. If I were a woman, I wouldn't join the military. Because I don't think I think it's for some special people. It's for people who wants to do that, has the zest of, oh, I want to do that type thing. But in general, I don't think that an average American citizen, I wouldn't recommend it. There's some pluses to it, and you meet a lot of good, fun people, and you have a lot of experiences, and the military takes care of you, and they send you to some fun places, and you get a lot of great experiences. But it's military, and unless you kind of feel military like that, or you can deal with it, it's good. But otherwise,
Now, I'm curious. Some of these places that you were, New Guinea and Korea, Japan, I think you mentioned the Philippines a little bit. Have you gone back? Have you visited any of those places after the war?
No, I guess not.
No, I'm just curious
Yeah.
because.
Well, we've got a bunch of kids, and
How many children do you have?
9. So we've got lots of kids and lots of fun stuff that we do, and so 17 grandchildren.
17 grandchildren.
Yes.
I have 2. This is a remarkable. Do you mind my asking how old you are?
93.
93.
I have to ask her. I never remember.
Well, but you're part of really a rare breed now. You know that because there aren't many left from World War II, veterans of World War II.
Yeah, that's right. It's getting a little thin, isn't it? Yeah. Well.
Do you stay in contact with any of the fellows that you were with?
Yes. Yes, I have a few.
They're probably all over the country.
They're
I
all over
imagine.
the country now. Yeah.
What about some of these fellows from the MASH unit?
Yes, I have one in particular that I keep in touch with.
He was what? Maybe one of the doctors
He
there?
was a doctor, yeah. Yeah. He's a character. He was a character. And we go on the telephone on occasion, and
He's not that far. I think you
No.
meant, what you said. I think you said he was in New Hampshire. That's not that
yes,
far.
yeah. And he's come. I haven't been up there to visit him, but he's been down here to visit me. So, but I got to do that one of these days. But he's doing fine. Yeah, he was a character.
You ought to have. I bet you do. I bet you have people that come visit this museum and look around.
Well, it is kind of interesting.
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
And I understand. And these drawers, are these drawers filled with more?
Yes.
More memorabilia.
Oh yes.
You need another room.
Yeah. It's an ideal thing here, so we did it.
So aviator,
Yeah.
author,
Yeah.
artist.
Yes. Yes.
Quite a career.
Well, thank you kindly.
Quite a career.
I enjoy it, and I got a good partner over here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just fat, dumb, and happy.
Yeah.
we enjoy ourselves, and we enjoy our families. We have a big family, and
Yeah, big family and a lot of grandchildren.
lots of friends, and so we're very fortunate.
Well, you're very fortunate, and you've contributed quite a service.
Well, thank you.
Quite a service and a remarkable, remarkable life.
Well, it just sort of happens. Although, you know, you have to, you can't just sit around and not do anything. You know, you gotta enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just not live. You want to do things, have action, enjoy
Well,
life.
you've been a man of action, that's for sure.
Yes, I have, and I got a good partner over here.
Yeah.
So we enjoy ourselves, and we enjoy our children, and that's the way to go.
I'm wondering too, are you a religious man?
I'm not gung ho on it, but
Because I almost feel like you were protected throughout all of this. The fact that you survived.
I would not doubt, I wouldn't dispute that, because I managed to get through a lot of stuff.
That's one of the things I was wondering, is if there was any kind of a memento or something that you carried on your person.
Well, yes, there was. It was a St. Christopher's medal, and my aunt gave it to me when I was going off to war. She gave it to me. She says, "This will give you good luck."
Yes.
And it has, and I still have it. It's sitting over there on that in that chair, thing there. Well, anyway, I got a St. Christopher's medal, and so I got a little spooked about it. So I just thought, well, maybe you better just keep that and keep it like you're supposed to keep it, you know. So I did. I kept it. One day we were camped right on the water's edge in the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean, and I don't remember how it happened, but anyway, I had it on, and I decided to do something with it. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, I had it in my hand. I did something with my hand, and I forget whether a mosquito bit me or something, and I do it out like that, and my medal went into the ocean, and we were camped right on the water, and it went. I saw it. It skid out from here to that wall, and into the water. And it really upset me, because I had
had it with you.
Yeah, I had it. You know, oh boy, listen, I'm in trouble now. But it really upset me. I said, well, that's so it goes, you know. And then I thought, well, what the hell? I'll walk out in there. There was shallow water for a ways. I'll just walk out a little ways and look anyway. And so I did. I walked out into the thing. I had to wade. It was shallow water, but it was rocks and stuff. And I walked right out, and there it was. I just reached down and picked it up out of the water.
There you go. See?
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
And now I got it. It's in the thing now.
I was wondering, because you said you had it here, and then you said you threw it in the ocean.
Yeah.
I was like, does he have it or not? But you do.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you, that was something. So I guess it worked.
Apparently. Well, Richard, this has been absolutely inspiring.
Well, thank you.
Thank
I'm glad
you so
enjoyed
much
it.
for sharing this time with us.
My pleasure.
All right.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, and thank you also to our viewers out there. You'll be able to see this interview on Culpeper Media Network, War Veterans, History of Our Heroes. look forward to more of this. We look forward to you joining us again.